When did you realize that hard work does not always pay off? The first time I had a real job. Turns out that working harder than your coworkers does not impress them. This working harder usually just results in you being given more work and responsibilities that you either have to fit into the same hours with the same wage or into unpaid overtime. I honestly wish that had been my outcome. Instead, I was just straight up disliked and eventually pushed out of the position. This happened at least twice. I never ever called off. And yes, I understand now why that is not a good thing, but when I was young I thought you went to work unless you were on your deathbed. At a staff meeting, boss was reading everyone the riot act for calling off too much, and his second in charge said, well, except for vertical parachute, they've never missed a day. Boss said, really? I never noticed. Lesson learned. Had a coworker who never missed time, always did OT, and did what was expected. Semi-annual performance reviews came through, and he got a 4 out of 5 on attendance. I.e., no one was allowed to score 5 over 5. No one gets top score, because some MBA thinks that will keep them motivated to work harder next time. When they reward you for getting your work done well, by giving you everyone else's work to do. Pretty much every job I've had, I feel this in my soul. Even better when your boss rewards you with bits of their work and positions it as a great learning opportunity. Yes, please let me do the bish work parts of your job while getting paid $45k less per year. I guess that's why they get paid so much. They've implemented creative strategies for Aulicost Savings Rowley and Rowley efficiencies Rowley. Oh my god, my boss is rewarding me with his work currently. Look how generous I'm letting you do this. This will be great experience for you. I worked 4 years at a Walmart, almost constantly being praised as one of the best employees on my shift/team. Now what kind of reward did I get for this? A raise? A promotion? Nope. I got a small pin I was allowed to wear that just said something like management appreciates me. I worked Cap 2. I was straight up told in front of the whole crew by my supervisor that I was the hardest worker in the crew and everyone should try to do what I do. Well, he ended up asking for a demotion for himself. He hated the job. They promoted one of the lazy guys who always took 30-minute breaks instead of 15, always showed back up from lunch hour late, then went directly to the bathroom forever, was always high as crap. Granted, I was high a lot of the time too, but not like this guy. I left for unrelated reasons and I watched as he started balding in his 20s from all the stress, and then fired in like a year. I saw how it works, though. The guy with his nose cheek deep in someone's asshole is the guy who gets promoted. Hard work means nothing to them because they were never the hard workers. They don't want to promote you because managers don't do crap anyways. And if they promote hard workers, they have no more hard workers to actually do all the goddamn work. Not true at all. The hard workers never get promoted because they need you to keep doing your job well. That is why bums always get promoted. Nobody will miss them if they stop doing their job. I used to work at a blow molding facility. I was in middle management, but I was in every meeting for some reason. We had this guy, I will call him Ernesto, who was a beast in the warehouse. Ernesto would do any job asked of him, and he did them great. A training job to work on the machines opened up. Ernesto applied for the job, and everyone assumed he would get it. In a few of the meetings, the heads of various departments said that they couldn't afford to lose Ernesto. He did too much. He did not get the job. If you want promotions at a job, just do the bare minimum. Say crap like, that is above my pay grade or I'm not trained to do that. You get the gist. I was a really bit of a people pleaser when I was younger. Tried to do everything to make life for everyone easier. Turns out that they just took advantage on me. Givers need to know their limits because takers don't have any. So true. I need this plastered on my wall. Thanks. Easily retail. Those performance-based raises are deliberately rigged to not give people the best raises. I only really understood how much when I became a manager and was overruled on how much to give my employees a raise when I gave them a 5 over 5. I was told, and I quote, "No one is a 5 over 5. She came in whenever we called, stayed late whenever we needed, was the epitome of the perfect employee, and was well loved by everyone that shopped there. They changed her evaluation from a 5/5, which was I believe a 50-ish cent raise, still not enough, to a 3/5, which was a 10-cent raise. She quit a few weeks after I told her, and no one we've hired has been half as productive as she was. I find it super interesting that companies don't realize that it's better to pay someone 20% more that works as hard as 2 people than to hire 2 people. They are stupid. 99% companies doesn't understand that one happy employee do a better job than 2 unhappy. When I realized I get paid the same as coworkers who are putting in bare minimum, Americans are largely captive by an illusory belief that there's something wrong with revealing their salary. In essentially every case, this reduces the information asymmetry which employers exploit to their advantage at employees' expense. Always share your salary freely and openly, and ask others this. It's the best way to get more pay and more fair pay for everyone, which only reduces employers' wealth. Currently working for a company that regularly makes mistakes on payroll. If I didn't constantly check in with coworkers, we'd all be underpaid. I've caught mistakes at least 7 different times. Worked this office job for 9 years, ever since I turned 16. They kept giving me responsibilities, never any pay raise beyond the minimum they had to, all the while telling me how I was indispensable. Then COVID hit, and they laid off all my coworkers. They told me I could stay, but for less hours than before and definitely no pay raise, just more responsibilities, either working from home or in an empty office. I declined the offer and quit right then and there. Felt pretty cheated though. I think the dangling of a carrot is something I would tell most young folks to not follow. Get some experience and a few skills and move on. Companies will always dangle that carrot, that the big pay raise is coming soon. Even if they offer it instead of the usual 2-3% call raise, it ends up being 7-8%, which is fine, but likely you'll see much larger increases hopping around early in your career. So glad I took the pay raises moving to a new job every 2 years. Seriously, not even me looking. Just a random call sometimes from a recruiter. I ask for 20% more of what I'm making. Get 30%. Stupid not to take it. So I always moved. Went from 45k to 75k. That's how you supposed to do it. Worked hard at my first job for an entire year after a $0.20 raise. Got a $0.10 raise after that year, while a guy that avoided work got $0.40. So I avoided working too hard for a year and got a $0.40 raise. No bullcrap. Also passed up a crew leader position to work in an easier area. Then they made me a crew leader anyway in the new area. I didn't even ask. The company I work for now does some ass backwards stuff too. It drives me nuts. Progress takes time, and there's a fine line between getting stuck because you're too good at something and getting moved on to promote you. And that is why you change jobs every few years. I'm too specialized and have a cush job right now, so nothing else is appealing. I need to train a couple people to take my place and I can move along to my next stop, which is what I'm looking forward to. Just too bad that it'll take me 2 years to train a decent replacement. There wasn't one particular moment for me, but the saying it's better to be lucky than good is oh so true at times. Sure, working hard helps, but being at the right place at the right time is often overlooked by those that purely equate hard work with success. Malcolm Gladwell talks about right place right time in Outliers. It's fascinating. Also made me realize how much luck there is in succeeding. Sometimes we do all the work and it's not at the right place or right time, so we still fail. Wow, I've never seen anyone mention this book. I recommend it all the time and I can never get anyone to read it because it's hard to make it sound good, even though it's a great read. Every point, single point, retail point, job point I ever point worked. Working harder, faster, smarter than coworkers never got you a raise or promotion or recognition. It just got you more tired. Not only more tired, but pretty much always punished if you decide to do a normal amount of work for your pay grade because you are tired. Yep. Learned really quick to only do the bare minimum that's in my job requirement. And heaven forbid you do something above and beyond and it's not perfect. Then you get in trouble for stepping out of line or making calls above your pay grade. If it's a success then your manager just takes the credit anyhow. Never do more than you have to and save the energy for something you enjoy. It's a shame. I was raised with a better work ethic. One that I have to actively fight, really. But corporate America has taught me that that kind of work isn't rewarded. Companies want loyalty without ever offering it in return. I've worked blue collar jobs my entire life. It's a good way to pay a mortgage and not much more. If by chance I ever find a way to retire, I'll be too broken down physically to enjoy it. There are 2 Moldovan guys where I worked that would be billionaires if hard work made you rich. Working harder than everybody else at your job rarely gets you anything good. More often, it results in the boss going, "Oh, look how productive you are. I'll give you more work, but I'll still pay you the same as everybody else who's only doing half as much as you are." Set the bar low, friends. Yeah, so far in all my jobs the only thing that ever happened when I worked hard was I was given more work. Every single time I stepped up all it ever ended up with was more responsibility and more stress, and no extra money. By being taken advantage of repeatedly, go above and beyond the expectations in hopes to advance, you now have to do that advanced job with way more work for no pay increase, and in less time than the people getting paid more than you. Don't ever let an employer know you're capable or willing to do significantly more work than anyone else for the same pay. If an opening arises and you have been consistent, you're more likely to get the position than someone who does twice the work you do for the same pay just because you follow the book more. This thread is a goldmine of career advice. I did something similar and ended up exactly how you described. 19 years old. I was working for a pet store inside a debt store. Separate company. I was the assistant manager. Third in line. The assistant manager lived like 40 miles away, so she wasn't there very often, and the manager was being treated for ovarian cancer and lived 20 miles away. I lived 1 mile away. Keep in mind that, even though I wasn't the manager, I was ordering thousands of dollars of stuff every week. Calling the supply company, unloading it, stocking it, keeping records etc. Training new employees. During one January snowstorm in New England we got hit with 2 feet of snow overnight. I got called to go in, since the store had no power. I walked a mile in 2 feet of snow trying not to get hit by the fishtailing cars. I get there at 8 AM, and they let me in, while the few customers standing outside are mad. So I spend the entire day, 8 hours, taking care of the fish, birds, mammals, snakes etc. Changing their litter, feeding them, removing the dead fish, since the tanks were getting cooler with no heat etc. My boss thanked me. She was great. 6 months later I show up for my shift and my manager and her sister are standing there. Her sister was manager of another store of ours. Her sister talked to me and explained I was being let go because the quality of my work had dropped. I looked at my boss whose head had been down not looking at me. She gave me a look that basically screamed this isn't me. This came from above. She didn't say anything other than sorry, but the look told the entire story. I was mad at the sister at the time, but quickly got over it. I realized what was up because I was running the entire store. So no, my quality hadn't slipped. 6 months later the company went bankrupt and out of business. I laughed. The most insane part to me is that there were mad customers waiting outside of the pet store in 2 feet of snow. No, they were waiting outside the debt store that the pet store was inside of. They wanted de-icer, shovels, etc. But the store had no power, so no registers. Think Walmart with a separate company doing pets. This was before Walmart was nationwide, and it wasn't Walmart. Like most people here, my first job, I was working at a pizza place known for letting you, the customer, bake the pizzas at home. I was working minimum wage, but I felt like I'd been there a while and wanted to move up. So I talked to my boss about a possible raise. She said she'd keep an eye on my performance over the next month and see if I deserved it. Now, there was another employee there by the name of Jimmy. Jimmy was great if there was a rush, because in those instances, just having an extra pair of hands makes a difference. But in all other aspects of running the store, he was useless. He slacked off and left his work for the rest of us to do. Of course, the manager loved him. After a month of picking up every shift I could and doing every unpleasant task assigned to me, my boss tells me that I've been doing a fantastic job and that I earned my raise. I looked in my check and I was now making an extra $0.50/HR. Not great, but I was 16 at the time and it felt like the squeaky wheel got the grease. Until I find out that Jimmy also got a $0.50 raise. And everyone else did too. Turns out the minimum wage was increasing nationally and they were legally obligated to give everyone a raise. When I confronted her about this, she turned the tables on me, telling me that talking about my pay with other employees was unprofessional. She went on vacation shortly after that. I taped my 2-week notice to her door the day after she left. TL, doctor, I worked my ass off for a minuscule raise only to find out that the raise was legally required anyways. This is the thing that sucks the most about promotions. Managers promote people that they get along with best, not those who have the best performance. I'm not a social butterfly, but I'm a good project manager. Yet not being a social butterfly is what will hold me back most in life. I'm not socially awkward, I'm just introverted and have a more keep your head down and work mentality when I'm just in much less of a socialize about our weekend on my break type. When I lost my student council election in 11th grade, because although I'd run a thorough campaign with promises, lots of posters and actual campaigning, I lost to the popular dude who was on the football team. A similar thing happened at my sister's school. One kid worked their ass off campaigning, made feasible promises, etc. The other one was literally entered as a joke and didn't even run any signs or promises. They came in 5th. There were only 2 names on the ballot. More people voted for Chuck Norris, Eric Cartman, and Leroy Jenkins. They made everyone revote and would not count their vote unless they voted for an actual student. And the kid who campaigned managed to lose votes, going down from about 8 votes to 6 out of 900. I can tell you why. They were on the debate team. Nobody liked the debate team. Even the teachers hated having them in class. But who won the first election? When I was proficient at my work and the boss brought in her old husband to replace me, I did the most amount of work on that particular task, the most anyone had ever done, but it wasn't good enough to keep me employed. I also did a great, determined job in the warehouse, but because the boss liked keeping us as casuals and cutting costs wherever possible and glaring at me too, I realized that working hard wasn't worth it. So study hard and earn qualifications and become a worthy asset. There's no such thing as indispensable, just expensive to replace. You're right. Worked for a company for a few years in my early 20s. Busted my ass and was essentially doing a manager's job for very little money. Our manager left a while before and they just had me take on his duties. They employed a 40-year-old guy to help in the warehouse doing basic stuff. They hired him on twice my salary. I brought it up with the owner and asked for a pay rise, laid out why I deserved one, and went about it in the right way. His response was no, as I'm young. The other guy has a family and a house, that's why he's getting paid more. I could have lost my crap. Realized I needed to cut my losses. I quit on the spot. That's always an excuse. Good job recognizing the bullcrap. I was working retail overnight, and I worked my ass off, partly to keep from getting tired. My living situation started falling apart, and I had nowhere to go if I had to move, so I was very stressed. My fun boss, who everyone loved, came over to ask why I wasn't working as hard as usual. I told him I was possibly a week from being homeless, and he just kept smiling and repeating the phrase, "You're usually my superstar. I need you to be my superstar, buddy." My hard work wasn't valued at all. This boss only cared that I'd been making him look good by accomplishing so much. No one at the store actually cared about me as a person. I've told this story here before, but the truth is I never worked hard again. No matter how hard a job tried to pressure me that something absolutely had to be done, I never worked that hard for anyone ever again. I was probably 16 when I realized we were dirt poor and watched my dad kill himself working 12 hours a day and coming home coughing up black snot. Then when he got sick and went to the hospital due to his lungs, his company let him go and then fought him on unemployment. I wish people understood what coal mining does to you. Hard work pays off. when it's your own crap you're working on. Working at a job, it seems the less I work, the more I make. This is exactly me at the moment. Weekends I work on my place, sweat my ass off landscaping, building cupboards etc. Place is looking schmick, and I like coming home to it. The value is also going up, and wife and I are looking at selling or renting and buying bigger. At work, built new systems to streamline and innovate, makes everyone's life easier. I'm getting a hearty thumbs up from management. If I barely meet my requirements at work, I still get paid the same. I made more in Tesla stock than what I make in a yearly salary, and I didn't do crap for Tesla while I gave my best years and soul to my work. At work, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Nepotism is king in a work environment, and no matter how much hard work you put in a job, if the higher ups don't like you, don't expect to move up. Or if higher ups are all family, friends or know each other, good luck. Multiple times. In school, group projects, I always was one of the couple of people who would do their part, and then I would have to make up for others not doing anything. Work. 1. I worked my way up to being a shift manager at a gas station that basically allowed me to carry a key to the store and run the daily reports. I got no pay increase. 2. Now I'm a software developer, and I found out pretty quickly that if I stayed ahead of the added features curve, that I get no extra praise or recognition. Now, I do still stay ahead of the curve, but I only send out required updates when it's due. Kind of annoying, but it means I do less work in the day. In school, grades are kinda meaningless compared to the experience and knowledge you gained, and the skills you've sharpened for picking up the slack. Yeah, your slacker mates might get higher grades because they sucked peens behind closed doors, but they learned nothing from the projects. I didn't care too much about grades when I became a senior. For software devs, I would say that doing normal is good enough, unless you're a CTO with big stakes in the company. PR count is more important than actual work output. I would still offer to take on the most challenging features because I wanna learn and better myself though. Just make sure your tasks are as broken up way more than as necessary to give your boomer boss the impression it's a huge pile of work and needs thrice the amount of time to do. Pad in as much buzzwords as possible during meetings. The tech illiterates dig that. After 17 years of working for a small company, I left as they were taking multiple companies into receivership. There is no such thing as loyalty. You are working for you and your family. Management and owners will never care about you. If your job is terrible, toe the line until you can find a better one and move on. Invest in yourself. Today when my dad told me about his boss that bought himself a brand new Mercedes while he keeps cutting pay from all the workers in his factory, even though thanks to them, he has record profits even in this corona crisis. Marx was right. My first job was a cashier at Burger King. I worked my ass off. I was 16 over 17. In high school, working over 40 hours every week because frick child labor laws. Somehow my grades didn't suffer, but my health did. I regularly would only get maybe 5 hours of sleep a week to a maximum of 4 or 5 a night, and that was very rare. Usually only when I had a day off, and most assignments caught up. Got a couple raises, but it wasn't worth what I was working. Many managers hated being the manager or even hated working, so they would give me their keys and say if I need anything, they would be out back smoking, in having sex in the bathroom, or outside on the phone, etc. Their whole shift. I became the manager without the pay. Finally got tired of it and put my 2 weeks in. They said if I stayed, I would be a manager. So I stayed. Waited a couple weeks, nothing. They hired a new dude straight on as a manager. Same deal, dude just gave me his keys and stayed in the office on his phone. When I asked about being manager, the GM said they couldn't make me a manager because I'm needed in drive-thru and they won't be able to find a replacement. Okay, so give me a raise. No, we can't afford that. Make me a manager. No, we like you where you are. Okay, finally put my 2 weeks in and left officially. Screw that place.